If you're sitting here asking yourself what you're afraid to lose by starting to say no, it's clear you've been thinking a lot about this, and I want you to know that that's a big, important step. It's not easy to even consider this when you're in a toxic relationship, so I get where you're coming from. Now, let's break this down. You see, one of the biggest fears is likely losing the love, attention, or affection you've been getting. In a toxic relationship, love can feel conditional. It's tied to what you do for the other person, how much you give, how much you please them. So saying no might feel like a threat to that love because you've been taught to believe that your worth is based on how much you give or how compliant you are. But the thing is, this isn't real love. True love comes from mutual respect and understanding, not from you consistently or constantly sacrificing your own needs. When you start saying no, it might feel like you're risking that affection, but what you are actually doing is reclaiming respect for yourself. If they really love you, they'll respect your boundaries, not punish you for them. Number two, you've likely been conditioned to fear their reaction. They might get angry, upset, or even manipulate you into feeling guilty. The fear of their emotional outburst is real and it can be overwhelming. You might think that by saying no, you'll set off the chains of events. Maybe they'll withdraw, lash out, or start blaming you. That fear can paralyze you, making you feel like it's safer to just keep saying yes to avoid conflict. But what you're really afraid to lose here is the control they have over you. The more you comply, the more they have power over your actions and emotions. So saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It actually takes your power back. And while their reaction might be uncomfortable, it's a reflection of their behavior, not yours. The real danger is staying stuck in a cycle where you lose yourself trying to avoid their anger. Number three, you might also be afraid of losing your sense of security, whether it's emotional, financial, or even physical safety. Maybe you're worried that if you start setting boundaries or start standing up for yourself, they'll retaliate by withdrawing support, isolating you, or escalating things. This fear is valid, especially if you've become dependent on them in some ways. But here's the thing: staying in the relationship doesn't protect your security, it traps you in a cycle of instability. You might feel safer sticking to the routine you've known, but deep down, you know that this relationship is causing you harm. Saying no might be the first step in creating a healthier, more secure future for yourself. And even if it feels uncertain right now, true security comes from being able to stand up for your own needs, not from avoiding confrontation at the cost of your well being. Number four, if you've been isolated from friends, family, or even your own sense of self, you might be afraid of setting boundaries. After all, if you've been trained to believe that they are your only source of support or validation, the idea of pushing them away might feel like losing everything. But in reality, you're not losing connection, you're reclaiming the possibility of real connection. So when you say no, you are making room for healthy relationships. Relationships where both people's needs are respected and valued. You are not cutting yourself off from love. You are learning how to build it on your own terms. You might also be battling with the fear of losing identity or sense of purpose. Another thing that might be at play here is that over time, you've probably started to tie your identity to the role you've been playing in this relationship, whether it's the caretaker, the peacekeeper, the fixer, or the good partner. Saying no might feel like you're losing that identity, like you would know who you are without the constantly putting their needs before your own. But here's the truth: you are so much more than the role you've been stuck with. You've been conditioned to think that your worth comes from how much you give, but your real worth comes from who you are at your core. So saying no is about giving yourself the space to rediscover that. You can be kind, loving, and strong without constantly sacrificing your boundaries. So, what are you afraid to lose? At the core of it, I think what you're really afraid of is losing control. Control over the relationship, control over their reactions, control over your own peace of mind. But by staying in this cycle, you are already losing the most important thing, and that's your freedom, and your peace. Saying no isn't about rejecting this person, it's about rejecting the toxic dynamic. It's about choosing yourself and your well being over the fear of upsetting someone else. It's about understanding that their reaction, however negative, isn't your responsibility to manage. It's not. The truth is, you are not losing anything of real value by saying no. What you are gaining is the ability to live authentically, free from manipulation and control. And that's something worth far more than any sense of security or love that's been built on fear. You're worth more than this toxic cycle. Saying no is the first step to showing yourself that.